Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you very much for lending us some of your time to tell you about Qudo and how we bridge the gap between insights and activation. To start with, I'll just introduce myself. My name's Omar. I'm one of the co-founders and the Chief Marketing Officer at Qudo. And I'm going to start by talking to you a little bit about who we are and why we exist. And then later on, I'll hand over to my colleague Russell, who is our lead data scientist, to tell you a little bit about how it works and show you under the hood. But to start with, I wanted to kind of present you with an idea. Crystal ball, something you'll all be familiar with. Imagine you had one. Imagine you could ask this device to give you any information you wanted, the answer to any of your questions. That'd be pretty cool, right? That'd probably help you out in a lot of your campaign planning and to be able to make the best decisions. Just want to leave you with that thought for a second and I'll come back to it. But back to Qudo. We are a team of data scientists, research scientists, marketing scientists, and we've all come together to help our clients, brands, to be able to understand the consumers with more depth, more granularity, more detail, and all with the aim of helping them to engage with those consumers with far more meaning. There's one other thing that unifies us as well. That's that we believe that while data is great, answers are better. And when I say this, what I'm talking about is for most people, there's a handful of really burning questions, the answers to which would probably unlock tons of potential. That's where we try to focus. So talking a little bit about some of the challenges, we're probably all marketeers here, and for each one of us, we're presented with different difficulties on a daily basis, but some of the things that we'll all share is that generally there's a lack of really good data, really high quality data. And one of the symptoms of that is we end up guessing. We probably should have not put yellow on a white background as well, right, to make it a little bit more readable, but I'll try and shout out what those bits are. But yeah, no one likes to guess, we don't like to make assumptions, and that's the challenge of being a marketeer with a lack of data. The second thing is sometimes where data exists, it can be inadequate. There's bits missing, sometimes consent isn't quite what we would want, which means effectively that data becomes unactionable. And everything we do is about taking action. It's about creating engagement, driving performance. And then the last thing, probably you've all spoken to hundreds of people at this conference about, which is the deprecation of third-party cookies. And when that goes away, it's going to leave a blind spot in terms of how we understand what people are doing outside of our own assets. Now, we know the solution for this exists in data somewhere, but we're marketeers, we're not data scientists like some of my colleagues. And getting to that solution can sometimes be a little bit challenging. And that's where Qudo comes in. Now, we do lots of things, but if I was to boil it all down to a few fundamental philosophies for us as a company, we start by deploying large-scale, naturally representative behavioral and psychological research. Now, that's lots of really long words. Effectively, what I'm saying is we help our clients to create the data, to fill the gaps in the data sets that they have. And we work with them to make sure we get that absolutely spot on. The second thing we do is, once we've created this data and we have this nice, rich data set, is to analyze it in lots of different ways. We're harnessing the power of AI, like many people. We've built an AI-powered segmentation tool, an AI-powered persona generator. And the aim for this, for us, is to help our clients to understand, within this large set of data, what are the few most important insights that you need to be aware of. We try to make them more accessible and more digestible, and to leave them in a format that our clients can take and to run with. And then finally, in that same vein, we have integrations that we've built into all of the, well, two of the biggest major ad networks, Google and Meta so far. We're about to add TikTok, and we're going to continue to expand out across the full spectrum. But the aim here is for any one of the segments that we're telling you about, where we've told you the storyline that's most important for them. Within a few clicks, you can upload that entire segment into your ads manager, ready for you to activate, to target them, and to start that process of engagement, thereby making all of the insights that we have actionable. Now, one of the most powerful things about what we do is that we've packaged it all into a single platform that's super easy to use, and it's inherently GDPR compliant, and that's because of zero-party data. Now, some of you may be familiar with what it is. Everyone defines it as something slightly different. For us, we use surveys to collect it, and it's submitted actively and voluntarily. It's completely transparent. We have the added benefit for us that it's completely PII free. We're not asking for email addresses or phone numbers, names, addresses, anything like that, which is great because it makes it inherently GDPR compliant, like I said. Consent is also explicit throughout the whole collection process. But one of the most important things about zero-party data is that it's super, super accurate. Not only do we design the surveys that we use to collect the data, which means we can tune the questions to make sure we're unlocking the answers that are really useful and meaningful for us, but we also control the deployment of those questionnaires and those surveys. And that means we can target those questionnaires to the people who are most relevant to your brand, to your challenges. And then lastly, our research scientists have loads of research methodologies designed to eliminate bias and to remove noise from the data, leaving us with something that we can really have a lot of confidence in. Now, most marketeers will use pixels and cookie tracking to be able to give you, lots of first-party data, which is absolutely brilliant, and we believe in first-party data. And that's great to tell you about the people who you're currently engaging with, the guys that you've met, those guys who are buying from you, who visit your website. But what about the hundreds of thousands of people who haven't been to your website? Hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people. Zero-party data can also bridge the gap for those, because we can survey and collect data on absolutely anyone. But the single best thing about it, it gives you why. Now, as marketeers, we've built entire careers around measuring behaviors, both passively and actively. We try to answer what people are doing, when they're doing it, where they're doing it, how they're doing it. We want to understand which products they're buying, which content they're reading, how they're using our website. We're measuring absolutely everything. But as the Merovingian says in the Matrix series, why is the only real source of power? Now, all of those things that I mentioned are super important, but they become even more valuable when you know why people are doing what they're doing. So going back to the analogy of the crystal ball, Qudo can be your crystal ball. Better still, we're not a magical device that you don't know how it works. We can tell you what the voodoo behind the screens are. We can show you under the hood. And effectively what we do is to unlock for you the answers to your most important questions. We can tell you why people do what they do and the drivers of their decision making. Within our segmentations, for each segment, we leave you with loads of different things, but there's three core elements. Firstly, we tell you, for each segment, which combination of your product and service most fits the requirements of that segment. But better still, we tell you what it is that you're not doing that they need. The second thing is we tell you how to communicate your proposition to them. What USPs, what features, the tone of voice, the style of communication, the visuals, anything you need to know about how to engage and communicate with them more meaningfully, we can download that to you. And finally, as I said before, with our precision activation engine, we can help you to identify, isolate, upload and target each one of these segments with precision, all without using any PII. Now, just before I hand over to my colleague Russell, who will tell you about what goes on under the hood, the end result of everything that I'm talking about for our clients in testing has been an improvement in conversion rate of between 3x and 6x. Now, we're currently exhibiting at stand B18, and I'd love to tell you all of the details around this, but please come and see us, and we'd love to tell you a little bit more about some of the work we've done. But I'll hand over to my colleague Russell, and he'll show you how the magic unfolds.
Thank you. Thanks, Umar. He actually said it was only going to be a 3-minute intro, so we might need a whistle-stop tour here. So my name is Russell. I am the lead data scientist at Qudo, and I'm really here to talk you through exactly our process to hide absolutely nothing. And to do that, we're going to go on a journey together. So we're going to frame a business question. We're going to go through the data gathering process. We're going to show you how we segment the data and the algorithms that we use. Then we're going to dive into our inference, so how we understand those segments. and then what we actually do with that understanding to make it an actionable insight. So you're actually able to take from the research an action straight away. So we start with the business question. This is the most important part of our process. All of the machine learning and the AI and all of that stuff is all framed by the question. It frames our entire data pipeline, and what we do with it is framed by this kind of most important thing, the question. And that is, when can we start drinking at this conference? Or maybe you're a brand, you're a UK drinks brand, and you want to target a new premium IPA, and you want to know who you should be targeting and with what messaging. So we've got the question now. Now we're going to dig a bit into our surveys. So our surveys tend to be quite lengthy, and this is purposeful because we want to get a real understanding of each person who has answered that survey. So there's lots of holistic questions to understand things like brand preferences, media affiliations, not just things like demographics and life stage, but also more about the person, and to even gather their ideas of trends and what's going on in their lives. Then we have our research-specific questions, which are framed around the business question. Now we use those research-specific questions to split the data, because that's what you're actually interested in, and then you're interested in understanding what's in each one of those splits, so within those segments. We're also, as Umar said, we're also really conscious of our sampling and make sure we have weighted representative samples using quotas, and we also have lots of like data quality insurance that goes into that, but we don't have time to go into that now. So what we actually have is a demo, so if you would like to take part, if you scan this QR code, what it will do is it will take you to a Google form. Now on that Google form is a subsample of one of our surveys. This is from our drinks, so our alcohol consumption research questions. So should be about a 1-minute survey, which is a real subsample, and these are just the research specific questions. And then at the end, we're going to see how everybody here is going to be split in that process. So as you're doing that, we'll go into our segmentation. So what we do about kind of like to answer this question, we need to split the data. We need to find the best possible splits in our data, so where the best segments are, so where we can then really dig deeper and gain some understanding. Our segmentation process sets out some success criteria, tries to hit those, and we select the best option. But here we come to a bit of an issue. So in most machine learning paradigms, we have a ground truth to compare against. So we can test whether our models that we're creating are actually making sense. Oh yeah, we predicted 97% of the correct outcomes. Well, we have an issue here that we don't actually have any right answers. There are only best fit solutions. So for us, the first thing that we need to do is define what that best fit solution is. So we have defined success in this in 3 key areas. So the statistical properties, the consistency and the robustness of our segmentations, and then also the audience reach. So I'm not going to go into the statistical tests, but there are lots of different statistical tests that we run to assess the compactness of our segments, so how alike people within the segments are, how separate the segments are, so how different is this segment from another segment, and then the quality of the distance between those segments in kind of like the n-dimensional space. We then assess another facet of this quality through consistency. So we resample the data, take some out, and then refit our models. And also, so if we get the same results, we end up saying that is a very robust segmentation. We also have a quick look at the uniqueness. So what properties that are significantly different within one segment are unique to that segment, and we would like that to be as high as possible. The next one is probably our most important one, and this is something we developed in-house. We spent a long time doing this. So this is an estimate of our audience reach. So we have, as part of our surveys, the self-reported use of social media platforms. So for instance, if we ask how often people go onto Facebook, if we're interested in advertising on Meta. So we have a measure of how often a user or a person is going to be kind of going onto the social media platform. And then we estimate the signal. So the signal is, using our segmentations, what do we estimate the actual reach, so the amount of efficiency that if we could get that message out to everybody in that segment, how many people would actually see it using our techniques? And we multiply those together to estimate our audience reach, which is our estimate of essentially of ROI. So this is how we do the segmentations. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'm happy to talk it over. I'll be over on the stand later on. So the data comes in. We run it through a segmentation algorithm. We calculate all of our metrics. We have about 35 metrics. We then use the outputs of that to then retune the algorithm. So that goes round and round and round until we cannot get a better solution. And then that is the best candidate model for that algorithm. And we do this 6 times in parallel, and we use the outputs of each of those to affect the other ones. So we have an adversarial system which it compares back to throughout all of the segmentations to try and improve. So what we do at the end is we then have a lot of best candidate models, and we compare those. We compare them on the 3 kind of categories that I mentioned earlier. So the statistical properties, the consistency and robustness, and our audience reach. So, and throughout all of the process, this is for our alcohol consumption survey that you've just all completed the research questions for. We came out with 6 segments. We assessed that we had 97% consistency, so when held out data and resampled data and reshuffled everything, it was about 97% the same results, which is very good. We had 55% separation, so that is if it's something that's unique within one segment, is it present in another? So we would expect this to be, if it was a bad segmentation, it would be around about 17%, so 55 is good, not fantastic. We can definitely improve there. And our audience reach estimate was about 52%. So that implies if you spend £1,000 on an advertising campaign, well, if you try and present that advertising campaign to 1,000 people, about 520 would see it and receive your message. And we have an average of about 55 targeting criteria per segment, but that varies from, I think there's about 25, the lowest one, all the way up to 150. So really, you can really target down to specifics of your user base. Great. We have essentially 6 segments. What now? The next part of our process is really to try and dig into it and understand the people who are within those segments. And this is our inference data pipeline. So what we have to do is we have to find what differences there are. We have to really understand where one segment is statistically significantly different than others. So we do this by question-answer pairs, which we then compare with one segment to all of the others. We have to then interpret those differences to formulate what is the core parts of each segment, and then it's up to the marketer to decide what is the best option, which segment to activate on, and what they use to activate. So what targeting criteria are the best options there? So that is obviously done through us looking through these 1,500 statistically significant features, studiously going through, writing down, and really coming to an understanding of those. Or it used to be, that was how they used to do it. Now we just use a large language model. We have developed an in-house tool which converts all of our inference into an automatic fine-tuning algorithm, well, a fine-tuner for ChatGPT at the moment, although we're not wedded to ChatGPT. Any large language model will do. But that one's the best one for the moment. So we have created customized fine-tuning, and then we prime this model to answer as if it were a core member of that segment. So if it was a representative member of each segment. We also get it to kind of output a name and a description. Now, I think Umar mentioned that we have in the pipeline the ability to talk to this segment. So as a chatbot, you can then talk to this persona, this archetypal representative of the segment, and you can then interrogate them in new interesting ways. So all the data are kept within this large language model, and you can interrogate the data using just free text, normal language, and you'll get a representative answer as if it was from that. However, that's still in beta. Hopefully we'll be launching it next week, but I've said that for a couple of weeks now. But do come back to us to check that out. But we have the segment name and the description from these large language models from ChatGPT. And these are the actual segments. This will be going live on our website today or tomorrow. We have a whole host of about 30 new segmentations and personas that are free to use. For us, for our example, we have a premium IPA brand, so we're not really going to be, is that it? That's not a laser. We are these people, the wine aficionados and the thrift cocktail connoisseurs. They're not going to be our target market. They have specific drink needs, which they're not going to be what we were going to go for. And teetotalers, they don't drink, so they're not going to be our target market. So we have three here. Kind of just by looking at the names of them, we have three kind of that we think, well, maybe these will be good, good for us. And then if we expand the descriptions just a little bit more, I don't know if you can see the highlight there. It's not the clearest on this screen, but there are different ways that these people like to be spoken to, and they have different interests. That means that you can tailor your message in different ways. So, for instance, the heavy spenders, you're not going to be interested in kind of mentioning price at all, but what you are going to be is about quality of the ingredients and your premium drink experience. So that would be part of your messaging. Whereas your bold flavor aficionados, they are more interested in the artistry of brewing. So you'll have your punchy citrus hops, and you'll have your kind of like real kind of like emphasis on kind of like the drink experience of the flavor and the art of brewing as part of that. So we've got three potential groups that we can activate on here. And just to let you know, all of this has happened in the background. So from when the data arrived, the user doesn't see any of this. All of this happens in an automated pipeline. It kicks off, it does all the segmentation, it does all of the descriptions, everything comes through automatically to populate this, which is the next bit that you will see. So this is the latter stage of our platform, and this is the ability to export this audience straight to Meta. So we have our bold flavor aficionados here. We have a few pre-selected kind of like criteria that we have identified as the core features. Then our marketers can kind of pick and choose other attributes that they think are important to their market as well. And then it's one click that you've uploaded that audience to Meta or to Google, to TikTok, and then you add your creative, you're good to go. That's it. That's the whole process. So what have we done? We've taken a sample of the population. You've all filled in the questionnaire. We've split you into segments, which I'll show you in a second. We've now got understanding of what is in those segments. We've managed to target our bold flavor aficionados. We have the messaging, and it's up to you just to click activate on the campaign, and it goes live. So, my lovely assistant, let's see if you can do it live. You should never, ever, ever do it live. If we can zoom out just a wee bit. So here we have our 6 segments, and if you scroll down a little bit more, click on play, which is just, that's one there. We should see how we separate out. Well, we've got a few teetotalers, some bold flavor aficionados. Okay. All right.
Quite evenly split.
That's really evenly split. normally you have one group which kind of like, which overwhelms it all. So here we can see, if we've targeted our bold flavor aficionados, these are the people here who filled in the questionnaire who will get that. And if you put your email address at the bottom of that, I'll email out the description of the one that best suits you at the end. So here we have, if you go back to the presentation. So this is the kind of like the end-to-end process for us. So this is the whole of our magic, all demystified, and yeah. So I'd like to invite any questions that we have from the audience for either myself or Umar.
Or just come see us. Oh, go for it.
How much would the cost be for one project like that for your customer?
So the cost of our projects is based off a couple of different parameters. We start at around the £10,000 mark for a custom solution for you, but we also have a free-to-use product version as well, where if you log on to Qudo.ai, you can interrogate 4 industries which we have currently: financial services, travel and leisure, food and beverage, and consumer tech. The latter 3 of which will be up in the next week or so, I believe. But they're all free to use. But if you pop over to stand B18, we can talk to you about what your specific requirements are and tell you a little bit more.
So the alcohol consumption segmentation, which we did the example with, that's one of the free tier ones. I think we have maybe 40 that are relevant for the UK and a few that are relevant for the US that are free to use. And then, yeah, any custom work, come talk to us, and we'll see what we need. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.